And now we're going to speak about the lines, the 6 lines, starting with the first line, which is the foundation. And here I'm thinking about the core wound again. This is Richard Rudd's core wound. He has the 57.1, and the 57 is also the key that codes the sphere of the core. So here I feel like the first line kind of sits with that collective core wound. It has it. It's very physical. It's in the bones. Not only physical because it is the splenic center in the 57, but it's the first line and it's in the bones. It's very, very physical. And we have this line where the keynote is terror, because it's hard to look at all the pain, all the trauma, all the wounding that is in humanity. To want to look away and not be completely honest with it is very, very normal. The terror of having our whole species or our whole tribe eradicated, and to have to remember that and feel that in your bones. You know, it's easier here. It can be easier to repress it. And the first line has that tendency of not wanting to go there, of deciding to kind of be a loner instead of doing it, and also of not trusting relationships anymore. And what we want to do in the first line is to have the self-honesty of saying, okay, this is what it is to be on earth. This is what it is to have signed up for looking at these core wounds and helping humanity heal. So the first line needs self-honesty and the courage, the boldness to say, I'm ready, I'm here, let's do it. And then we have the second line. And if we speak about the core wound again, this is more about denial and aggression, the projection of the other. No, it's not my fault. It's not the fault of my tribe. It was your tribe that raped all our women. Like, it's that kind of aggression, the rage that is in the same crime in a way that was made in that has to do with the first line, but in the second line you feel like it's done to you, and there is this projection field. And the second line, it's here to learn to be aware of itself and to see its own part of the play. It's never one side, it's always both sides. And to be able to recognize that, to get out of that denial by becoming self-aware. And then if we go to the third line, we can say this is the failure of what happened, of not being able to protect your tribe, of not being able to see eye to eye with the other. This is the feeling of failure, the feeling of shame. We couldn't do it. And the shame that comes from something having been done to you, or you having done something to the other. And here it's about seeing that this is part of the human journey. This is the way that we evolve. We learn something from all those incidents. And it's very dynamic to be a human because it's in contrast. Everything is shown in contrast, in polarities. And we're here to see that whole thing, even when it burns, even when it's not easy. So we can become really compassionate and really human if we embrace this third line. And you see that all these lines are personal. They're kind of with the person. It's in the person it happens, even if it's the projection with the other, even if it's the dynamic interaction, it's still personal lines. So that's going to shift when we go up to the transpersonal. The fourth line is my core wound. And I believe that my unease is often related to the other and not feeling like I can trust the outside. Not only that I can't trust tomorrow, but I can't trust the other. And what the fourth line most wants, it is to trust the other. It is to know that we're in it together, because it can see what happens with society when people can't trust each other, when people don't have an open heart, where people are afraid to breathe because of the other. It sees all that, and it sees it leads to war. It sees it leads to disease. And it has overcome that first line of, it's harmonic with the first line. It has overcome the repression. So the fourth line is here to speak about how we can move forward in a way that is more constructive, how we can live from our hearts. But it's important that it has done that work of the first line of self-honesty. It's important that it comes to the point that it says it doesn't matter what has happened. It's worth to have the heart open, even if it hurts. That's the courage again that comes back here in the fourth line. And it can convince others by flooding their hearts that it's worth it. And then we have the fifth line that I would say can be a master of unease, because it's the most impactful of all the lines. So here it has the overview of all the other lines. So it feels the terror, it sees the denial, it sees the shame, it feels the closed heart, and it has to live with all that. And here we have in the core wound the keyword of guilt, and the feeling of it's all so complex. So much has happened. There is so much hurt done. No matter what I do, I'm not going to be able to fix it. And the fifth line is transpersonal as well. So it doesn't just want to fix it for itself. It wants to save. It wants to save the world. And it has that practicality. So it has the best chances of all the lines to actually bring something that is going to transform the core wound into a higher frequency. So here it's about not giving up, I would say, not saying it's too complicated, it's impossible, too much has happened, and feeling just the guilt that no matter if you go left or you go right, it's just going to be worse. The fifth line is here to be that role model with integrity and to come with the solutions. And it is a voice that humanity can trust. And it's not so much the trust between people. We can trust this would be more the leader, like somebody who can see the good of the people. Whereas the fourth line is more in the network as one of those kind of spiders in the web. The fifth line is more in a leadership position. And these are the kinds of leaders that we need, that actually can look at everything that's happened and not just kind of want to go on and put things under the carpet and come with solutions that aren't true solutions, but solutions that are going all the way down to the foundation of the first line. So important. And then we come to the sixth line. And here we have the core wound of separation, which we could say is there in all the lines. It is a separation when you feel terror, when you feel shame, when you feel denial, guilt. It's there. You are separate from the whole, from the other, and even from yourself. So we have that in the sixth line. It kind of has all the other lines in it. And at the same time, the sixth line is already looking at the next gate, which is the 32. It's looking at that knowing of what's worth preserving for the collective, for us. What is the core that we are here to nurture? Preservation is the key word for the 32. I also believe, speaking about the city before, that the sixth line has that aura, like the cellular truth of clarity on a higher level. So when it can transcend the separation, when it comes back into the body and it can warm up itself and it can know that it's worth it to be human, that's for me very, very much the sixth line in any hexagram. But here, given everything that's happened, all the trauma that's imprinted, when the sixth line can say, I know for a fact it's worth it to be human. I'm 100% up for this game, for this life, for this body, and come down into the body, being part of life, role modeling that higher frequency of clarity. And that can impact in a very different way than the fifth line, but it impacts just by being that in the world. So it needs also a lot of patience because it's not here to tell people to do things. It's here to emanate that frequency of it's worth it to be here, it's worth it to be human, it's worth it to be together, it's worth it to believe in the future. Those are all words, sentences for the 6th line.